Welcome to Kevin and Brian's Horror Bulletin podcast, where every week we discuss the latest horror news, a classic Universal Studios film, a short, and a couple of more recent movies. And this week, after the news, we'll cover the Universal Studios Bride of Frankenstein from 1935. The film Lovely Molly from 2011, a short film called OK Google, and a animated horror, Constantine, City of Demons, that was just 2018.
All kinds of good stuff.
Yeah.
But before we get into our movies this week, we want to explain all the different ways you can catch up with us and stay in contact. First of all, we have our audio podcast. We're up to episode 23 of the audio show, and you can subscribe to the podcast through iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, or however you usually do it. We also have a YouTube channel where you can watch us record every week. It's the same basic show as the audio podcast, but you can watch us, which sometimes add a little something to the mix. Mm-hmm. Plus, we have all the links and stuff on screen, which makes it kind of nice. You can go to YouTube and search for Horror Bulletin, all one word. Third, we have our website at horrorbulletin.com, and every last one of them, of our reviews, has an article there. You can read all these reviews as well. Stop in, check it out. There's an email list on the website you can sign up for that'll also automatically email you all the reviews. No spam, just reviews. And, of course, we post a lot on Twitter as well, at Horror Bulletin, of course. Well, time for some movies.
I think that covered it.
Yep. Turn up the volume. Lean in close.
Here we go. But first, the news.
The news? We'll be discussing the short film OK Google in a few minutes, which deals with the potential horrors of technology. And appropriately enough, you should also prepare yourself for more Black Mirror. The horror-tinged science fiction anthology is returning to Netflix on June 5th for a 5th season of People and Machines Going Amok. There's a new teaser trailer, which we've linked to in the show notes, and the season cast will include Anthony Mackie, Miley Cyrus, Topher Grace, and Yahya Abdul-Mateen II that we know of so far. Who?
I'm ready.
Okay.
He's an actor.
Oh, yeah, I got that.
Yeah. Actors and actresses.
3 episodes, so it's a short season. But those can be pretty good sometimes.
The preview looks really good.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, I want to see that.
A lot of stuff going on there.
And next up, we have Chris Rock, of all people, is setting comedy aside for horror as he teams up with Lionsgate and Twisted Pictures to bring a new imagining of the Saw franchise. He saw the Saws and is a fan of them and thought up his own story, which is being adapted by Pete Goldfinger and Josh Stolberg. And Chris Rock will also executive produce, be actively involved in the process. The series producers said, quote, "This Saw is going to be an event film in the making for horror fans. It will have all of the twists and turns and hardcore layers that our fans expect. Directed by one of the masters of the craft, Darren Lynn Bozeman. We can't wait to get started." And Lionsgate has actually set a date of October 23rd next year.
2020.
2020, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, very cool.
So that ought to be different.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other Saw movies coming out that we've heard about? Or
Not
what are they up to like now, 16, 18?
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
At least,
yeah. Yeah. But it'd be the way that they'd play with time, back and forth in the past and the present and things happening simultaneously.
Prequels and sequels and concurrent things.
Yeah. Good to, easy to weave in some more. So, yeah. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's one of those series you could kill every character in it and still have a next movie.
Still have it more, yeah.
Third, something for video game and horror fans appeared this week. A new top-down video game called Darkwood can be yours on PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. According to publisher Crunching Koalas, the title is a challenging survival horror game. You have to craft weapons, prepare traps, and fortify hideouts. The goal is to explore and scavenge eerie forests by day, then survive at night when the sun sets. Nightmarish forces corrupt the woods. The team added that you have to make your way through the bizarre world of Darkwood and delve into the secrets of its inhabitants to escape the infected land before it destroys your body and consumes your mind. We've got a link to the trailer in the show notes, and it looks neat.
Mm-hmm. And
Makes you want to rush out and buy a Switch.
Except I know so little about video games, I had to ask what top-down meant. It's when you look down, your POV
Looking
is
down
looking
on the
down,
map, not first person.
Top down. Oh, okay. I don't play a lot of video games.
Candy Crush. Candy Crush.
And Pokemon Go.
Okay, yeah. The serious gamers games.
Yeah, yeah.
What's next?
A really good article that you all should check out. Journalist Tommy Cook was invited to the set of the new Child's Play movie, and he gives some insights into the upcoming reboot.
There's a lot of stuff out there on Child's Play now.
Yeah, and he really goes into a lot of stuff on it, more than we're going to discuss here, but it's still a horror movie, but heavily science fiction, with the Buddy doll being animated with an AI that has a mind of its own. I guess it gets the Chucky name kind of, they don't really explain it, but it decides it wants to be called Chucky, basically, I guess, when it bonds with Andy.
Very different from
imprints
the
on
first
him.
one.
Yeah, it imprints on him as it activates. Andy is a 12-year-old this time, aged up a bit, and he's not alone in the fight. He teams up with some other kids that are in the apartment building. And Chucky isn't limited to just one buddy body. He can inhabit the other smart devices in the network, and there's other models of the dolls that he can infect too. So it sounds very science fiction.
Do we know when this is coming out yet?
I haven't
We've seen so much on it.
Haven't seen a definitive date. No, they've wishy-washed on that a little bit. Sometime this summer was what I heard.
A lot of pre-release hype on that one.
Yeah, but anyway, there's a little behind-the-scenes teaser. Very little CGI. The doll is actually an actual animatronic doll for most of the scenes.
The kid in the movie, he was interviewed, and he said he was expecting a lot of CGI and acting in a room alone, and no, he's really a Chucky in there with him in most of these scenes.
Yeah, and the eyes go red when he's in evil mode, I guess, or bad mode or something.
Chucky,
anyway,
switch to evil mode.
Check out the article and the teaser video. Yeah.
Last up, the Black Monarch Hotel in Colorado, known for alleged ghost sightings, is now reopened, refurbished, and redecorated with serial killer-themed rooms. That's not a gimmick. The building is said to be haunted by the ghost of a man who died in a gunfight. Ever since, people have reported seeing unexplained things, and in recent years, guests claim to have woken up to hear women laughing and men shouting, only to learn that they were in the hotel alone. Not a very busy hotel.
Well, sometimes, yeah.
Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the Black Monarch features rooms themed after serial killers Elizabeth Bathory and H.H. Holmes. And according to the property's press release, the self-proclaimed horror hotel is packed with curiosities, taxidermy, oddities, and trinkets, giving alternative travelers myriad strange sights to explore. Who wants to get away from it all?
I do.
That'd be neat. Yeah, that does sound neat.
Yeah. Sounds very museum-y.
Why are all these fun things way out on like the West Coast or Colorado or something?
It's quite a commute, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah.
At least it's not like Budapest or something like that.
I hear that's a romantic spot to go. That's where all the
seems to be in all the Universal movies.
Yeah, they're on their honeymoon in Budapest.
Yeah, the honeymoon spot of the world. Let's go to Budapest.
Speaking of Universal movies, have you seen any lately?
We saw The Bride of Frankenstein this week.
We sure did.
Straight out of 1935.
James Whale directing again.
Once again, James Whale.
I guess they had to woo him on this. He didn't really want to be on board again.
They gave him money and he said, woo!
Yeah. Yeah, they gave him money. They gave him a big budget. It's clear it has a bigger budget, more special
Universal
effects
was wanting to do a sequel to Frankenstein much sooner, and he just wasn't really into it.
But they talked
They
him
got
into
him.
it. Yeah.
Written by Mary Shelley. Sort of, kind of. Her name's on it.
Based on it, yeah.
Adapted by William Hurlbut. Stars Boris Karloff, Elsa Lanchester, and Colin Clive. Colin Clive was the Dr. Frankenstein in the first one.
And he's not a doctor.
That's the trivia I read this time.
Uh-huh.
You always hear him referred to as Dr. Frankenstein.
He
He's
flunked
not
out.
a doctor.
He quit.
He quit medical school because they weren't teaching him enough. He is not a doctor.
Yeah, he's Baron Frankenstein. He's got a title, but not.
Actually, in
not
these
doctor.
movies, his father's alive, so he's not even really the Baron yet.
Oh, yeah, not really. Yeah.
The father didn't make an appearance in this movie, but he was mentioned.
Yeah.
This takes up right after the other one.
Karloff.
Yeah.
And Karloff was such a big star that it's like, Karloff was all they said.
They didn't mention Boris, just Karloff.
Karloff.
Yeah. So it was a dark and stormy night in the huge castle on the hill. Mary Shelley, Percy Shelley, and Lord Byron sit and brag to each other about how wonderful they are. They talk about Mary's excellent story that she's written. They cannot believe this story was written by a woman. As they talk, they recap the first movie. Mary concludes with, "But that wasn't the end of the story," and continues where the first movie ended.
Yeah,
Now, if you're into the books, you know Mary Shelley just didn't write any Frankenstein books after. She was not involved with the Bride or anything else like that.
Yeah.
But this is just a little, sort of a framing story, although we never really come back to Mary Shelley.
They filmed an ending, but then they ended up cutting it, actually.
It was sort of a convenient way to recap and remind everybody what happened in the first movie.
And what I think, too, was a way to tone it down, because audiences back then were easily shocked and more easily horrified. Mm-hmm. That is just a story. It's okay.
Yeah, it was written by a woman. It's not as bad as you think.
It's written by a woman, and she's just sitting telling this story to her two friends. And yeah.
And if you look into history, there was a scene like this in real life where she and a couple of the friends were getting around and they all compared stories. Mm-hmm. If I remember correctly, that's where John Polidori came up with The Vampire, the first written vampire story, before Dracula.
Okay, I didn't know that.
The same party.
Yeah.
And of course, Lord Byron and Percy Shelley wrote lots of things. Mm-hmm. Not so much in horror.
Yeah.
The apparently dead body of Henry Frankenstein is carried back to the castle, but he's not really dead
yet.
Which we knew that from the end of the first movie. The first movie had a happy ending for him, but in this one he's dead again, but not really.
They make a big deal about him not really being dead. And well, we already knew that. He wasn't dead at the end of the first one.
Alternate ending or something? I don't know, but he didn't die in the first movie, and it was clear.
In a shocking twist,
the
monster isn't dead either.
The monster has also survived.
Mm-hmm. Fell into the water under the mill. Yeah.
He climbs up out of the wreckage and kills the parents of the little girl who died in the first movie, who hung around a little too long for their own good. Mm-hmm. And then a man, Dr. Pretorius, comes to the door. That's just an evil. That's a villain name.
Yeah,
Dr.
and he
Pretorius.
looks like a villain too.
Yeah.
Oh, didn't they want? Didn't they want somebody else for that role?
They wanted Bela Lugosi.
Oh yeah,
for
Bela
the role,
Lugosi,
but he was
for the
busy
role.
with something else.
Yeah,
he couldn't do it.
But this guy was really good.
I think this guy was better. I mean, Bela Lugosi's kind of cool. This guy was perfect.
He just would have been the same character again.
Yeah, there's Bela Lugosi standing there. Yeah.
And this guy was, I think, better for the role.
I've never seen this guy in anything else, but he was really good in this. Mm-hmm. He's probably the best part of this movie.
One of the best parts.
So Dr. Pretorius comes to the door after everyone else is gone, and he knows what Henry did. But he wants to work with Henry. Of course, Henry refuses.
Henry wants out.
Yeah, he's had enough of this.
Yeah, but Pretorius is...
He kind of screams and whines through the whole movie. No, don't make me do it. But Pretorius has been experimenting as well, and he too has created life.
Yeah, which is weird. He's got these little homunculus creatures that he's grown. They're like little bell jars with little...
There's a king and a queen and a bishop and a devil and a ballerina.
And they have little squeaky voices. And I guess they're not really miniature humans, or they look like it, but...
He made them completely himself. It's not reanimated corpses or anything. These are his design.
And so, of course, Henry is fascinated by this, and it lures him in. Like, okay, yeah, I'll work with you.
And
Reluctantly.
they decide that, the defective brain inside the original monster was the problem. So Pretorius has designed this completely artificial brain that he says is
Yes.
perfect.
Yes, he has made a brain.
Yeah, but he wants Henry to build a body.
A female body.
Female
A
body.
bride for the beast. A bride for the monster.
Not really. They don't even know the monster's alive yet. But yeah, it would be the same kind of thing.
Well, I think that right away he had the idea.
Yeah.
To make a female.
Oh yeah, you want
this time around, yeah.
So they go to Pretorius's lab. Inside, they drink a toast to a new world of gods and monsters. Is that where that phrase came from?
I think that's where that movie title came from. Huh. Yeah, Gods and Monsters. Yeah.
He grew the little people from seeds, and he wants to collaborate and create a woman. Meanwhile, the monster has been spotted in the woods. It's not long before he's being chased by another angry mob with pitchforks and torches. They capture him and tie him up and then carry him to the town jail.
But no chains can hold the monster.
Not even close.
No.
It takes just a few seconds after they all walk out the door for him to break the chains, break down the door, and go on the offensive.
Mm-hmm.
He eventually stops and stays with a little old blind man in a cabin who feeds him and even teaches him to speak a little.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the scene you were expecting in the original movie and wasn't
That's
really
a
there.
scene I remember seeing clips of.
Very famous scenes, yeah.
Yeah.
He gets calm and he gets nice and he likes the old man and the old man likes him, but nothing ever lasts.
Yeah, they have a great bromance going and learn some words again.
Yeah, the monster starts to speak, food, music.
Good. Friend.
Fire.
Bad.
Yeah.
Fire bad. Yeah.
And not too long, we don't know how long he's there, but a couple of hunters find him and things go badly. And he
It's
ends
the
up...
monster. And of course, the blind guy doesn't know that because he's blind. I think he knows. He doesn't care.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
But in the fight, the old man's house burns down. Doesn't pay to help some people.
Yeah.
So the monster goes and hides in a crypt. Coincidentally,
Yeah.
very coincidentally, Dr. Pretorius is there searching for a female corpse at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Pretorius decides, after the assistants carry the dead body out, he decides to hang around and eat his dinner and have a drink in the crypt while
he's
laughing
just
to
weird.
himself.
Yeah, he's having this giggle and he's got his little lunch set up where there's a skull and some bones and he's got his bottle of wine and bowl of fruit and he's having a sandwich and,
It's great.
and just giggling and kicking back and having a good old time with the corpses right next to him. And then the monster comes in and he immediately recognizes the monster and befriends him and gets him on his side.
And he suggests to the monster, would you like a wife?
I'll make you a wife, yeah.
Of course, the monster's into that.
Yeah. Mm.
So, Pretorius...
Make friend.
Friend,
Yeah.
yes. Make all the friends you want.
Make me friend.
Pretorius convinces the monster to kidnap Henry's wife for leverage. Henry, of course, then agrees to the new experiment, and they assemble the pieces and wait for the approaching storm. This body has a completely artificial brain designed by Pretorius.
And it was cooler this time, the animation. There was a bigger budget and lots more machines going bzzz and electricity arcing all over and levers and wheels and big complicated machinery.
It's neat, yeah.
Yeah. That scene was a lot cooler in this one.
Yeah, there's a lot more electricity and sciencey looking equipment than in the previous film. I noticed that too.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, Henry shouts, "She's alive!" And she
is. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She takes one look at the monster and screams. Of course, he's like, "She hates me, like others," he roars.
Yeah.
And he lets Henry leave, but reaches over and pulls the lever that blows up the lab, the castle, and everyone inside.
I like how these movies have a handy self-destruct on all these castles.
What does this switch over here do?
No, don't pull that. You'll
Okay.
destroy us all.
Maybe later.
And he's got the monster has the iconic line, "We belong dead."
Oh, yes.
Yeah, before he pulls the lever.
Dead is better.
And it really destroys the castle. I mean,
There's nobody hiding in the
there's
basement.
not even
on that one.
rubble left after that.
You know what, though? Spoilers.
What?
He comes back for more. He's not the end. Okay,
He's
so
tough to kill, that one.
my comments on this one. Monster didn't really do very much in the first movie. He wasn't really even in the thing that much.
Yeah.
But he gets a lot of screen time in this one.
Mm-hmm. A lot more.
Pretorius is over-the-top evil and a lot of fun to watch. Especially that dinner scene. Carl, the assistant, played by Dwight Fry, who also played Fritz, or as some people say Igor, in the first movie, is a wide-eyed lunatic and just the man to find healthy, fresh hearts of young women. There's also a blink-and-you'll-miss-it cameo from John Carradine as one of the hunters in the woods. Did you catch him?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not really recognizable, but you get the voice.
Yeah.
The monster is a lot more violent in this one, to everyone except the old blind man. The bride, on the other hand, doesn't hurt anybody, and surprisingly is only on screen for about 3 minutes.
Yeah, she's such an iconic figure in such a short appearance.
And I don't know that they made any sequels with her. It was just 3 minutes of screen time, ever.
And she became an icon, yeah.
Very little dialogue.
Yeah.
Few lines.
Well, she doesn't have any words. She screeches and...
Oh, that's right. She hadn't learned to speak.
No,
no dialogue.
Just sounds of repulsion. She doesn't like the monster.
And once again, the castle has a self-destruct mechanism for apparently no logical reason.
Yeah, and it works.
It worked real good.
Yeah. So anyway, I give it a thumbs up.
Definitely thumbs up.
And I think I liked it better than the first Frankenstein.
It had a bigger budget. It was a lot better story. More stuff happened, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to watch the first one, but this one is better, I think.
And I saw a bit of trivia where the monster, he's not as gaunt looking and sunken cheeked because Karloff, his preference was that the monster wouldn't speak, and they talked him into it and said basically this is how it'll be. So he had to have he's got bridge work and stuff, and so he had to have his dentures in to talk, and so it filled out his cheeks. And
in the first movie, he just took his dentures out.
Yeah.
The second movie, he had to leave them in.
Yeah.
That's just...
Yeah. Well,
yeah. And of course, the monster is an updated look too. If you notice, a lot of his hair was burned away, and he looked a little more damaged.
Well, and one of his hands was really burned too. The fingers are fused together.
Yep.
And,
yeah, he did not come out of the first movie unscathed.
Yeah.
So, have you been scathed lately?
Scathed?
If you're not unscathed, you have to be scathed.
Yeah.
Speaking of scathing, I have a review for Lovely Molly 2011.
You're going to scathe it, aren't you?
Oh, I'm going to scathe all over this thing.
Well, before he scathes, I want to say Gretchen Lodge was terrific in the lead role. I thought she was...
Yeah, she was fine.
Perfect for... Just fine? She was really, really good. Yeah.
Well, what we're talking about is the movie Lovely Molly from 2011. Directed by Eduardo Sanchez, written by Jamie Nash and Eduardo Sanchez, and stars Gretchen Lodge, Johnny Lewis, and Alexandra Holden. 1 hour, 40 minutes. Seemed like a week.
Did not. I was more entertained than he was.
Yes.
But the ending, the issue with the ending, we have the same agreement there, but I was way more entertained than you were during it. Anyway, give us a synopsis.
We started out with a videotape of Molly saying, "Whatever happened, it wasn't me." And then she tries to cut her own throat with a knife, but can't do it. He won't let me do it. Then we cut to older video footage of Molly and Tim's wedding as the credits roll. So we're just after the credits there. On their wedding night, the alarm goes off.
3 months later.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not the wedding night.
All right.
They've been there for 3 months. Fast forward.
Doesn't matter too much.
Yeah.
The first night we see them. Apparently 3 months later.
Moved into her old family home. Her parents' old home.
Her parents had died recently, and they moved into the home.
Big old farmhouse.
Yeah.
I don't think it was recent that they died.
They mentioned it at some point.
A little while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the alarm says there's someone in the kitchen. They hear someone moving around down there, so they don't doubt it. When the cops show up, they find the back door open, but there's no sign of forced entry. The cop searches the whole house, but he doesn't find anything.
And Tim swears he locked the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It comes up in conversation that they moved into the home right after her parents died there. So, relatively recently. Also, they say Tim is a truck driver who's gone a lot, while Molly is a recovering addict. And we don't get into specifics on that one, but we know that much.
It builds, yeah.
Yeah.
You'll find out more on that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The next night, Tim's gone for work, and Molly stays home alone.
He's a truck driver, gone for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, long stretches.
She wakes up in the middle of the night, thinking someone was calling her name. and we hear it, but yeah, she doesn't see anybody. Someone then tries to break in the back door while she's standing right there. Before long, she's terrified to be in the house alone. That night, she hears a woman crying in the room across the hall. When Tim comes home the next afternoon, he finds Molly sitting cold and naked on the bed. "He's alive," she says. Soon after, she starts seeing things at work. Things soon start to spiral out of control. But the question is she back on heroin, or is something really going on there? And who is that woman that Molly starts to stalk with her camera?
And that's all
That's all the plot I'm going to put down there. The rest of it is just things spiraling further out of control.
Things do spiral out of control. I thought it built and unfolded very nicely.
Which, up to the point I just described, I have no problem with it. It's good build-up. The characters are fine. The acting are fine. It all was good. It's just, at this point, right up to the last 10 seconds of the movie, it's more of the same.
Yeah. Well, every single thing... Is that too much of a spoiler to say that?
I don't know that we can talk about this movie without spoiling it. It's such a crap fest that,
It's not a crap fest. It was good. It was entertaining. I liked it.
The big question of the movie is her father dead or has he come back?
Is it
his
a
father?
ghost? Is it her father or is it something else?
Yeah.
Is it all in her head? Is she just crazy?
And that's really the question.
Mm-hmm.
99% of this movie, with the exception of one little scene at the end, could have been entirely her imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And she is on drugs. We know she's on drugs.
Yeah.
She has mental illness. We know she has mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
It's entirely possible that the entire movie is her delusion.
Keeps you guessing.
Once you figure out that the movie is centered around her mental illness, it stops being suspenseful because you know nothing real is ever going to happen.
No, you don't.
There's no
know
monster
that,
going
though.
to appear and put a knife in you, or there's nobody going to bite your head off if it's all one of these movies.
Don't know that. It was very suspenseful at times.
You can get the feeling halfway through this movie that it's going to be one of those, is it or isn't it, and you're not going to have any real proof.
When Tim comes home and she's like seeing the creature coming up the stairs, and she's like, "It's right
He's
there,
right
it's
behind you."
Right. And then you're thinking Tim's going to get his head bitten off or something.
It's not there. Or it's invisible and hiding.
Or it just doesn't show itself to anybody but her. We don't know.
Once again, we have a film that confuses drugs, mental illness, and supernatural shenanigans.
Yeah.
She is on drugs. She is grieving her parents. Is her house haunted? Once it became clear that they were going to play up the mental illness and downplay any kind of monster, it really started to drag. Because this is a horror movie, you know this is all going to turn out to be real in the end, but you also know nothing real is going to happen until then. It's shot like a horror film, it ends like a horror film, but it's really just a big after-school special about drug use and mental illness. This is not fun. By the time the body count actually begins, I had long since lost interest. There were only 2 deaths, and one blurry half-second shot of something in the dark that's probably just a hallucination anyway.
Maybe. We don't know. I give it a 7, 7.5. What do you give it?
3.
That's what I expected. Don't believe him. It's better than that. It's better than that.
Some of these movies, they build up the entire movie with character drama. This is a horror movie. I don't care about the characters.
You want your
I
horror.
want to see monsters.
You want
I
stabbings
want to
and
see
bloods
gore.
and guts and
I want to see jump scares. I want to see surprise.
It's a
This
psychological
is a
thriller.
drug
Psychological
addiction
horror.
drama with 2 seconds of something at the end.
Wow.
A lot like Contracted the other week. In Contracted, though, I mean, it leans much more toward real horror.
Yeah.
This, if you cut out the last 5 seconds of this movie, it could have been a psychological drama, period. There's nothing real in this movie except the last second.
Or so you'd think. You don't know.
I say so. That's why.
Interesting bit of trivia. The actor who played Tim
Did not work out well for him either.
He met a tragic end not long after this movie ended. I guess he got in a motorcycle accident and got head injuries, which caused some real psychological problems, and then got involved with some crime, petty crime, and got arrested and got more head injuries in the process of that. Possibly got drugs in the mix, and then either jumped or fell to his death off a roof not long after this movie was done, released.
Like less than a year.
Yeah.
And the story was that you didn't know for sure if he was on drugs or if it was all mental illness. Much like the movie itself. So, yeah. Did not work out well for him. Speaking of mental illness, you'd have to be crazy to read this book. 13 short tales of terror, ranging from classic tales of supernatural revenge to serial-killing clowns, alien menaces, and demons. Even death incarnate makes an appearance. If you enjoyed collections of short horror fiction when you were young, you'll enjoy these more grown-up tales. Definitely not for children. Inside, you'll find When the Clown Comes Calling, Menace in the Mural, Delivering the Demon, Silent Flight, Prisoner 2, Druid on My Doorstep, Dreamcatcher, How I Killed Grandma, or What I Did Over Summer Break, You'll Die Alone, The Hypnotist, The Secret, as well as the all-new Terror on the Appalachian Trail, written exclusively for this collection. Also included is the first installment in the Necropolitan Police series, The Ghoul. Written by Brian Schell, available at Amazon and wherever good books are sold.
I'd read that book anyway.
I have already read that. I wrote that book.
Yeah.
And so did you.
I wrote some of the sequels.
You wrote the second one,
Some
yes.
of the stories in the second one, yeah.
You got time for a short movie?
Yeah, I do. We should watch one called OK Google. Oh, wait, we did watch it.
Hey, Siri.
Same thing. OK Google.
Alexa.
Too far away.
Okay, Google. We have just made every device.
We're mean.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about listeners. Short film is called OK website. 2019, written and directed by Levi Morgan, stars Calvin Young and Lexi Young, and it's 4 minutes and 41 seconds.
I thought it was good.
I thought it was good.
Pretty good.
Some guy's Google Home device turns on a light upstairs, and he sees someone up there. Then the darn thing plays music without being asked. It's clearly messed up.
Well, it's answering as if somebody spoke.
Yeah. It hears somebody that we don't, maybe?
Yeah.
Or it's just berserk, whichever.
Yeah.
So it's clearly messed up and he unplugs it. But then it continues to do things all by itself, and he's definitely not home alone.
And he's in big trouble. Yeah.
It's short, but an interesting take on what happens when something evil controls your Google device.
Yeah.
Or maybe something evil already controls them all. You know, evils used to say, do not. Evil used to say,
don't be
Google
evil.
used to say, don't be evil. They don't
Well,
say that anymore.
Yeah.
They've gone to the dark side. Got a link in the show notes. Watch it on YouTube.
You know, he has one of those classic, is anybody up there moments, where is anybody down there? Is anybody, when you hear a noise in the house, like the killer is going to say, yeah, come on up. Yeah. Yeah, but it's okay.
Speaking of okay, what about our last movie? Our newest one.
It was okay. Constantine, City of Demons.
2018 animated. This is our first cartoon.
And it was actually a little mini-series of like 10-minute cartoons, and they crammed them all into a
six parts, 10 to 15 minutes each. Directed by Doug Murphy, written by J.M. DeMatteis and Steve Bissette. Stars Matt Ryan, Damian O'Hare, 1 hour, 30 minutes.
Same Constantine guy as was in the series.
Yeah. The short-lived series.
Yeah.
We saw some, didn't finish it.
Yeah. They were good.
Yeah, I wonder why we didn't finish it.
Because we had so many other
It got
things to
canceled,
watch.
and then we decided not to invest in it.
Yeah. Warner Brothers Animation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a DC animation. Along the same lines of animation style as the Batman the Animated Series. Kind of dark, but not too awful realistic.
Pretty detailed, though.
More like that than a typical anime.
Yeah.
We start out in a mental institution. Constantine makes a bunch of plants grow and then screams that he can't stop using the magic. Then the credits roll. We eventually figure out that the previous scene happened sometime in the past, and it seems to be mostly irrelevant to the present-day story.
Mostly.
At home in his apartment, John Constantine is attacked by a bunch of tiny demonic versions of himself from his own subconscious. I thought those were kind of neat.
Yeah, that was.
He swats them away easily. He meets up with Chaz, a friend whom he hasn't seen in 9 or 10 years, possibly that same scene in the institution. Today, Chaz's daughter is in a coma, and he believes it's related to something demonic. Could it be?
I bet it is, because it's Constantine.
Yeah.
He specializes in demons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John does a quick test, and yes, she's very influenced. Her soul is gone. He summons the nightmare nurse to assist in the girl's hospital room. After a quick communication from the demon who did this to the girl, they get an address from it, and John and Chaz go to investigate.
In Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Yeah. From London. They're currently in London.
And how
Starts
many
out in London.
hours is that flight? You looked it up.
10.5 hours on a good day.
It's always good to fact check
Yeah.
a cartoon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They arrive in Los Angeles and soon notice a newspaper headline that states there were 23 new coma cases. The nightmare nurse learns from Chaz's ex-wife the story of what happened years ago to John and Chaz when they were in Newcastle. John released a demon that killed a bunch of innocent bystanders and threw an innocent girl into hell.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's how he ended up in the asylum.
He was fighting a demon, and to do that, it was a minor, magic guy, and to do that, he summoned a big bad demon.
But he didn't do it
But
right.
he didn't bind it.
Yeah.
And so the demon went amok and, killed some innocent people. Blasted a nightclub, and he felt guilty.
Mayhem.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, John and Chaz are exploring L.A., but John notices that people's eyes are glowing when they see him, as if something is using people to watch him. Then they meet Mr. Barul, a huge fat demon who has lured them there to remove his business competition.
5 demons in the city who
He
are
goes to
competing with Barul.
Big mansion. He's got the swimming pool full of dead bodies. He says the pool's not ready yet.
Yeah,
He has
it
to
hasn't
pick out the
liquefied.
bones and let them
Yes.
liquefy.
Yes. It's basically a little hell on earth inside the mansion. He's made a little bubble of hell.
It's great.
Yeah, it's cool graphic. And,
So he's lured
Yeah.
them there to remove his business competition. Business competition.
wants John's help.
On the way back to town, they're attacked by devil dogs sent by one of Barul's enemies. It's kind of a demon mobster skirmish. So what'd you think?
Well,
And it goes on from there.
like with them fighting the demon dogs, we didn't really have a good sense of what he's capable of. It's like he just kept pulling things out of his butt to save them. Like, they're being chased by the demon dogs, and they've lost their vehicle, and oh wait, I've got this, and he starts incanting, and he makes this angelic barrier of fire across the road that blocks them. Like, okay, all of a sudden he can do this. Like, okay, like, he kept doing. Oh, okay, he can. Okay, this isn't a big deal because he can just say an incantation and.
This is the problem with magic in comic books. Doctor Strange does the same thing.
Yeah.
He needs something,
Yeah,
it's there.
just say an incantation and it's all better. Yeah.
Yeah. Harry Potter, he was young. He didn't know what he was doing. He couldn't make all the spells to do everything. These guys are experts. They're supposed to know how to do it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you can do visually in animation that wouldn't be practical or affordable with a live-action film, and this film does a lot of those things.
Yeah, very
you,
cool
you
effect-
couldn't do
very
some
cool
of the tentacle
visuals and
monsters
effects
and
and-
hellhounds, and you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
The trick with animation is to use the freedom of animation, but not to get too childish or cartoony with the story. It's a fine line, and while there are some adult ideas here, they were hedging things because it's DC Comics cartoons, which tends to draw a youngish crowd. There was no nudity.
No.
Some people were dressed kind of sexily, but not
Violence.
inappropriately.
Violence and gore, but
Oh, yeah.
lots of that.
You got demons and
But it's
blood.
cartoon gore, so it's okay. Yeah.
The problem with a magical character like Constantine is that he's fully trained and seems to know everything. Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah, you noticed that.
When he needs a demon... We don't talk about these movies before we do this.
We keep our own notes. Yeah.
When
The perfume. Don't
when
give
he
spoilers. Don't give
just
spoilers.
conjure up a review here.
Don't give spoilers.
When he needs a demon to fight for him, he summons one. If he needs a magical widget, he just conjures one. I'm not saying he doesn't have challenges, but there are so many problems could be solved by pulling something out of his ass that it gets old fast. This is one of the reasons that so many superhero films are origin stories. Once a character is too comfortable with their powers, the story loses a lot of what makes it interesting.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, Superman, he's always just first day into town. Spider-Man's always just learning to swing webs. There were a couple of established Batman movies, and those were not as good as the Batman Begins movies. Once they know what they're doing, they're too competent.
Well, I remember Superman reached that point for me when I was reading comics as in my younger days. The turning point for me, there was some beam that was kryptonite based, I believe, and he couldn't stop the beam directly. It was going to destroy the Earth. So he dove to the bottom of the ocean and pushed Earth out of the way. Just, pushed by going to the bottom.
Happen?
And pushed the planet out of the way of the beam. And then when the beam passed, he pushed it back into place. And I was thinking, what's the point anymore? If he can do that, there's nothing he can't do, or there's nothing to do to stop him. Or
did you ever watch any of the old 1950s black and white Superman movies?
I never did.
There was one of them, I think about the time I stopped watching them, is one where he learned how to walk through concrete walls. He could phase through the walls.
Through the wall. Huh.
This is something you never see Superman do before, or again, it was just the plot of
plot
that story. That was a way to get out of it.
Wow. No, I didn't know that one.
Superman can do anything he wants if it serves the plot.
Yeah.
And Constantine's the same thing.
Yeah, it was very much that way. Yeah. I like how he played the various evil forces, the greater powers. He was very good at playing them against each other to his advantage. I liked how he was doing that. There's numerous demons, and is it too much of a spoiler to talk about the blue-eyed? What was the blue-eyed? What was up with that?
Go for it.
The city of Los Angeles is
one of the demons
personified. She's kind of demonic. She's not. She's self-interested, basically, but she's like the city.
This is my city. The city is me.
Yeah, and she can possess other specific people to, when she talks to Johnny and helps him, and but she's self-serving because her number one interest is the city, because she is the city. Which I thought was kind of neat.
Yeah, it's got good points in it. Yeah. It's just the whole idea. I did not like the idea of the magical hero. It just makes things too easy.
Yeah, it did.
Otherwise, it was decently entertaining.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I give it a 5 out of 10.
I give it a 6.
Okay.
6.5. Yeah.
Now, I'd like to do more animation.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think? Should we stick to just straight old slasher, monster, horror, hack and slash, murder movies, or you more interested in the animation as well? Let us know. Comment on the show notes. Send us an email. We'd like to hear what to do.
What do y'all think?
There's a lot of this stuff out there, and I don't know that anybody really covers it. I don't know if we want to cover it. You tell us.
Usually I prefer live action to cartoons, but I can be swayed.
You can tell because he calls them cartoons. Animations. Cartoons.
Yeah.
Look at that. He's got his nose turned up. Well, speaking of up, the sun
is coming
up.
Vampires want back in their crap.
Yeah, shuffling in back there.
Yeah.
Well, we need to get going so they can get their sleep. Thanks for joining us. Stop in during the week at horrorbulletin.com for news and horror updates, to comment on this podcast, or to contact us. All our videos are available on the horrorbulletin.com. All our audios are available on horrorbulletin.com. And all the text reviews are available on, you guessed it, horrorbulletin.com.
Yeah.
Now, for next week, time for your homework. We're going to be watching The Raven from 1935.
Another Poe.
That's not the Peter Lorre Vincent Price one. This was before that.
Poe.
Yeah. Maybe.
Maybe. Loosely Poe.
1935, The Raven, followed by The Caller from 2011. Ring, ring. And What the Waters Left Behind from 2017.
And I'm excited because all three of these I have not seen at all.
I don't know that I've seen this version of The Raven, but I definitely not seen the other two. So, will they be good? Will they be bad?
Don't know.
We'll find out.
We'll find out.
Pick those up from Amazon right now. We'll have links below, and we'll see if your opinion matches ours. Check out the Twitter feed at Horror Bulletin. And if you get a chance this week, leave us a review on iTunes or leave a comment on our YouTube page. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Love to hear your suggestions about what to watch in the future. Got a movie that you want to hear our opinions on that you liked, you hated? Tell us what it is and we'll fit it in somewhere probably.
Yeah.
You a small-time filmmaker, an indie guy? Send us your movie. We'll look at it.
We'll review your movie.
Might suck, but we'll look at it. Did I say that out loud? Okay, well, we would love to hear if you agree with us or think our opinions are the worst things ever. I'm Brian.
I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next week.
See ya.